Your Infinite Power to be Rich by Joseph Murphy. This discussion is further built on the conversation that we've been having over the last handful of videos, primarily the last video in which we spoke about the power of desire and that God speaks to you through the medium of desire. That which you desire to see brought forth is what is also designed for you to bring forth via the power of speech and mind. Speech, being the image of mind, is worked with mostly via the subconscious realm through what we would call inner conversation or affirmation. And in one of my previous videos, we talked about the concept of fourth dimensional thinking. The inner dialogue spoken from the perspective of the unseen as seen. I recommend watching both of those videos. Thus, we have the ability to bring forth that which we desire via the power of our mind, all is mind, and the power of our speech. Joseph Murphy, who wrote one of my favorite books of all time, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, works primarily through the concept of working with the subconscious mind through inner voice conversations that we refer to as affirmation. The idea behind it is that we are having an inner dialogue anyways. Why not choose the inner dialogue that is in alignment with that which you desire to see brought forth? When we combine this with the information that we've been learning from Neville, we recognize that once we have selected in our mind, via our imagination, that which we desire to see brought forth, which is received within, as spoken in the last video, as the heart desire, it is done. We are on the journey to the realization and fulfillment. Then, if we choose to make the journey one of harmony to the destination, we adjust our inner dialogue about what we are experiencing on the journey. As a result, and as discussed in the last video, the outer world effects begin to change. Our behaviors begin to change. We facilitate what I refer to as the true inner voice, which reveals to you within hunches, plans, and inspiration. Now, this is enormously powerful for the entrepreneur. And I'm going to give some examples of what happens after we go down this thread to build upon the example that I gave in the last video. He says there is plenty of everything, as well as an abundance of opportunity for the man who will tune in with the infinite and think big. He will gain a response from the presence and thereby bring all manner of good into expression in his immediate environment. Thinking big. More accurately put, thinking what you truly desire. What you truly desire to the infinite is neither big or small. We call it big because we say we dare to dream. However, the recognition is that all that we desire is actually meant for us. That which we desire desires us back. And since the outer world externalization is a reflection of our inner world, then by thinking big, we essentially move down the pathway to realizing big. We may experience challenge on the journey. Number one, challenge of finding our heart desire. And number two, living in the train of thought, otherwise known as the mental diet, as Neville Goddard refers to, that is in harmony with that which we desire to bring forth. Why is it the case? Well, the fundamental reason is that we think from previous states of mind. When we have selected our heart desire, we are actually in a different state of mind. We know that it is done. Even though reality looks the same, it is actually a different reality. And all people, environment, circumstance, and information in the five-sensory world, although appearing to be the same, is actually moving in a different direction. That which is in harmony and contribution to bringing forth what you desire. And the recognition of this is found through our inner voice conversation, how we relate by working with affirmation. We go into the subconscious mind with the accurate interpretation. And then what happens is our beliefs change. And when our beliefs change, more accurately put, align with that which we desire to bring forth, in other words, the accurate beliefs, we'll start to notice that certain ideas, hunches, and inspirations and interpretation of five sensory experience occurs. So I want to give some examples here. But before we get into the example, let's reflect upon one of the important quotes from this book. He says, "Begin now to clearly realize that the creative power within you is unlimited. There is no reason whatsoever for limiting the extent to which you may enjoy and experience what you can create by means of this power." Now, this is not just a statement, but it is also an affirmation. As we begin to further affirm what is being shared here, what we'll notice is that the way we look at reality begins to change. Now, from the entrepreneurial perspective, what we'll start to notice is the recognition that what is facilitating the end result or the success can be a combination of, and a lot of times it is, relationships and resources. Thus, we begin to automatically facilitate a lot of the effect-based thinking that was discussed in many book discussion videos that I've made all throughout the videos of this channel, in which we talked about different strategies and techniques for growing a business. All of those are the effect of mind. You can definitely study the effects and stimulate your imagination, but we have to first start with what we affirm to be true, our primary and fundamental beliefs. And again, to affirm the belief, let's repeat it again. Begin now to clearly realize that the creative power within you is unlimited. When we realize that the creative power within us is unlimited, we begin to see the unlimited multi-dimensional perspective on relationships and resources in relation to our vision. For example, you'll start to notice that clients, let's say you have a client in your business or a prospect, actually have multi-dimensional relationships with you. When you see from the perspective of unlimited potentiality, you then discover that clients can also become referral partners. They can refer you to investors, a mastermind, team members, and other connectors or vendors who can provide the service for you. And by connectors, I'm referring to others that can also help you bring forth success. As mentioned, when I had built my IT business, most of what I did as far as creating the success, the effects, were a result of a state of mind in which I knew it was done. From there, the quickest, most effective, and efficient way was revealed based on my level of belief at that particular time to creating referral relationships that transcended some of the force-based ways of building business. As a result of recognition of the multidimensional perspective that is available on looking at relationships, you'll also find within hunches and inspirations of how to, and I'll give some examples. So a client can become a referral partner can become an investor can become a mastermind relationship, and a mastermind can connect you to others. In other words, multidimensional ways of relating with people. When we think about relationships in business, if we don't believe, and again, it starts with the paramount belief, that the creative power within is unlimited, we'll begin to look at people from a limited perspective. Now, we're also talking about resources. What are resources? Well, you got inventory, capital, building and facilities, technology, software, hardware, licenses, copyright, trademarks, credentials, land, location, manufacturing, other equipment, vehicles, team, list of prospect, list of buyers, inventory, capital, retail location. There are many different forms of resources. Think about this for a moment. As an entrepreneur, you are really connecting relationships with resources to produce results. Results that multiply the quantity, quality, and spirit of service to those that you serve. As a result, you receive returns on this. You receive riches that are a reflection of that which you put out through that which you contribute. Many different ways of bringing forth riches. So we're using this as an example. And we're breaking it down into these granulars here. And the reason why we're breaking down into granulars is to reflect upon how it could play out. This is one way it could play out. And if we don't have the right philosophy within, in other words, the belief that facilitates working with the effects or the outer world, people, environment, circumstance, information, five sensory information, then we'll always work with it or relate it back to the way we think. If we don't see the unlimited potentiality, then we only see limited potentiality. A business is only looked at as a business. A relationship is only looked at as linear, one type of relationship. The truth is, and from my experience, and from my consulting business, what I've realized, and what I've experienced, and what I've seen, is that those that succeed have the ability to look at relationships from multidimensional perspectives. Those that succeed also have the ability to look at resources from multidimensional perspective. Those that succeed also have the ability to connect the relationships and resources in multidimensional perspectives to increase the quality, quantity, and spirit of service, as well as operational output and operational efficiency. Without getting too deep into the business building stuff, what are we really referring to? It is what Russell Conwell referred to, and I recommend watching the discussion that I did on his book, as the acres of diamonds. Acres of diamonds within is reflected as the acres of diamonds externalized, as in you see the opportunities. Now I'm giving this example to stimulate the mind. If I was to just say, think from an unlimited perspective, some of us might know exactly what it means. But a whole bunch of us might actually be so identified with the world of effects that we continue to interpret from the world of effects rather than the world within, otherwise known as the sixth sense. Now, how does one see reality from a multidimensional perspective, such as the example that was given? Well, it is through the gift of speech and mind. By changing our inner conversations and our inner dialogue, we affirm it on the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind automatically brings forth the perspectives. You don't have to have a checklist in front of you that says, these are all the ways that I could look at a client, or these are all the ways that I could look at my resources. What I have found, and what many have found, is that the beliefs that are within facilitate automatically these kinds of effects. And by the way, these are just some potentialities. If you study the work of someone like Jay Abraham and you watch the discussions that I did on his book, you can see that he talks about this to an extremely granular detail, many different potentialities and possibilities. And I've had the opportunity to work with the Abraham Group for many years, and I have seen those that were able to leverage Jay's information and create success. And what I found is that it has everything to do with how they believe reality to work. If they don't believe that these potentialities exist, then when they study someone like Jay Abraham's information, they will not understand how it all fits together. Jay's information is designed to stimulate the insights and perspectives within. Thus, it's important, and that's why I put so much emphasis on this. And if you really look at it, the last year I've been discussing it, to put the emphasis on how we believe reality to work. Because when we change the way we look at things as far as our belief goes on our subconscious beliefs within, we will start to automatically externalize these type of things. And one of the reasons why I brought up the example is that I actually recommend both. I recommend studying the business building information or whatever area of success that you want. But I also recommend studying your own mind. If we dedicate our time to, as Napoleon Hill calls it, specialized knowledge, the outer world stuff, the specialized ability, as well as dedicate time of understanding our subconscious mind, the subconscious realm, and everything that has to do with speech and mind within, then it is easier to harmonize the outer world with the inner world. We want to be in harmony. It's actually one world. This is all imagination. However, we segment things in our mind so we can make sense of it and put it back together. So we have the effects of the outer world and the cause within. Joseph Murphy says, "You are drawing from the infinite source, and you need never worry about taking more than your share because the infinite storehouse is inexhaustible and eternal, the same yesterday, today, and forever." So as we reflect upon some of these effects, and maybe some of us has never looked at relationships or a business this way, we still have to remember that this is just a small percentage of potentiality that exists in the infinite source within. The infinite source within is tapped into via our beliefs. Our goal is to constantly reflect on disempowering beliefs that we have about ourselves in relation to riches, because we're talking about riches right here, and realizing that our mind is the acres of diamonds. And we can go searching in our minds and might not see anything, and then assume that we go searching in the outer world. But when we affirm, and I recommend the affirmation, there's plenty of everything, as well as an abundance of opportunity for me, and I have the ability to tune into this infinite ability within by selecting that which I desire to bring forth, and realizing that all throughout the journey, the dialogue is made consistent that it is able to be brought forth. For example, let's look at the ability to work with relationships and resources. Now, these granulars that I pulled over here are actually based on certain business deals and joint ventures that I've done in my past. But if I was to share it with somebody, they may either see it as potentiality and find their own way, or they will react to it. That reactivity, how they react to it, is revealing. It is akin to looking into the mirror. It will reveal disempowering beliefs and assumptions that we have about ourselves in relation to what is being discussed. A person might say, "Well, I don't have the confidence to reach out to investors." Then I have a conversation with them and say, "I recommend an affirmation for you." More and more so each day, I realize that I have the confidence within me, which is related to the fact that I am connected to unlimited and infinite power. As a result, I find myself automatically externalizing the accurate investors and the hunches and inspirations that bring me forth to the investors. Then another person might say to me, "It'd be nice to have a good mastermind, but I'm unable to find people that match my mastermind." And I recommend an affirmation to them that says, "I realize that there are more people that I could possibly ever meet that are in alignment because they represent a mood within me. As I maintain the assumption and inner dialogue of value and contribution to others, it externalizes as others who speak and reflect upon the value that they create for others. Thus, I have found my mastermind." Some might say, "I have a hard time putting together these connections. These are complex business skills." And I would say, more and more so each day, I realize that I have grown so much on my journey as I reflect upon where I was when I started. I realize that I will continue to grow. As I take somebody that I inspire or aspire to be like, I realize that they are an externalization of me. And if they externalize in my world, then I have the potentiality and the ability to learn what they learn so I could do what they do. Now, these affirmations were affirmations that were similar that I did to help me overcome the limiting beliefs. One of the best ways to do this is to reflect back on the Robert Dilts model. And the Robert Dilts model, when we see the vision, say, okay, I want to create success, riches. And we find a potentiality, such as what I mentioned, which is connecting resources and relationships together, which is called joint venturing. Right away, a person either believes that they can do it and moves forward in that direction, or they have resistance. So we ask ourselves, based on the Robert Dilts model, is this an identity thing? In other words, we don't realize that we're actually that person, that we are divine perfection, and all we are doing is releasing disempowering programming? What are our values and beliefs in relation to riches, in relation to the potentiality, the opportunity? What about capabilities? Do we believe that we can learn how to do it? What about our behaviors? Do you see yourself as procrastinating and lazy and never been able to accomplish anything in your life? Well, that is the former conversation. You can put it off. You can change it to an affirmation that goes like this. I have the ability and capability, and thus I'm connected to the infinite source of riches, and thus I'm able to externalize the ideal behaviors more so each day that transcend past ways of looking at reality. I realize that based on my perspective of looking at reality, the environment changes, my behaviors change, my capabilities align. From this particular kind of affirmation, what we'll notice is that we'll more so each day do the things that will automatically lead to the success. And by the way, what are those things? Those things are also found within. Now, all of this is designed to help you realize one very important thing, as he states here. Man's great folly is in not realizing the true riches within himself, and in looking upon external products, possessions, and conditions as being the true riches, instead of the creative power of his own mind. All of this that we see between the journey and the fulfillment of the vision, that which you desire to see brought forth, is interpretation from the mind. And we can interpret it as the truth, which is interpreted from within as the treasure house of within, the acres of diamonds within, to see it in the other world, to see it in the outer world and automatically work with that information, have it externalize accordingly. Or we could see it from a place of resistance. Thus, the true riches is in the mind. So again, let's affirm it. Man's greatest folly is in not realizing the true riches within himself, the gift of speech and mind, and in looking upon external products, possessions, and conditions as being the true riches. Always remember that the external products, possessions, and conditions are inspiration, externalization. The source is still within. We can be stimulated by it. We can be encouraged by it. And perhaps you are encouraged by some of the things that I mentioned earlier, provided that your way of bringing forth is the entrepreneurial journey. There's many ways of bringing forth riches or success. You pick a way that works for you. If you're stimulated by it, then you're inspired by it. And as you maintain the affirmations, you'll find your own way of working with relationships and resources in creative ways that are right for you to bring forth the success in an accurate way. Working with your mind in the way that your true self, who you are truly meant to be, was designed to bring it forth. So that's stated. He says, you are spiritually equipped to overcome and to triumph over all problems, hurdles, and difficulties in life. So much of this particular book is positive, affirmative, more specifically put, accurate, affirmative statements that could be turned into subconscious mind audios, that could be read in the morning again and again, that could become part of your inner dialogue, that is going to change the way you look at things. Where did your conversation come from anyways? It can be inspired, both positive and negative, from the outer world, or it could be inspired from within, either the past or accurately what is in harmony and what is related to that which you desire to see brought forth. Our assumptions and beliefs about whatever we experience on the journey to creating that success will begin to automatically work with whatever shows up and see it as opportunity rather than obstacle. Now, you hear me say this a lot. Convert, transform, transmute an obstacle into an opportunity. That is the entrepreneurial state of mind. As far as I'm concerned, an entrepreneur has the ability to observe whatever shows up in front of them and transmute it and convert it into an opportunity. Now, also, this is not exclusive for entrepreneurs. This is our ability that we have. This is our God-given gift, which is the gift of mind. It is the true riches, the ability to observe any 5 sensory information that shows up and convert it, change the meaning within to accuracy. I'm not speaking of changing the meaning within to whatever random way you want to look at it, in accuracy to your vision. So it brings forth the ideas, hunches, plans, and inspiration. And the automatic cultivation of autotelic, we call, capabilities, behaviors, and environmental change, as well as the values and beliefs change, because all of this is happening within. He says the genius within you, when you are in tune and in rapport with the wisdom and intelligence of your subconscious, the genius in you will be revealed. The infinite intelligence in your subconscious mind can solve all your problems of financial supply and give you the right answers. Now, if we have a hard time believing it, it is because of our inner dialogue. We have the ability to change our inner dialogue by adjusting our inner conversations, by observing our inner conversations, by changing our beliefs, and working with the power of affirmation. So here's a good one that he speaks of. Relax. Let go and say to yourself, I'm going to dig mentally within myself and draw out some marvelous ideas for better service and accomplishment. I know that I have inner resources, powers, qualities, and abilities which I have never tapped. I know that infinite intelligence reveals them to me now, as I consciously dig down into the storehouse within me. You will be amazed, he says, of how the new ideas which come to you can be turned into wealth. Recognize your inner treasure house, organize your ideas, and put them into action. So what are we doing here? We identified the limiting beliefs, the limiting assumptions. We change them within through affirmation. And yes, we can be inspired by some of the stimulus. Actually, what I share with you right there is the essence of next level entrepreneurship. Those that have the ability to work with relationships and resources in creative ways create success in business and entrepreneurship in ways that transcend time and space, limitations, past assumptions, and linear ways of doing things. I know, I'll speak from experience. I've done many of these joint venture configurations that have produced returns on that investment of time just by connecting the dots that far transcended actually creating products or services. Again, many ways of doing it. You find ways that work for you. But the ways that are found are based on the beliefs within. So we don't necessarily focus too much on finding ways. We focus more so on changing our inner ways, our inner dialogue. And then what happens is that we'll stimulate certain ideas. Observe how, as a result of watching this video and affirming the elements that were discussed within, that you will start to look at your business differently. If you have a business or you have an opportunity, reflect upon this video, internalize it, and then go look at it. You'll start to notice that you'll look at it different. You have the ability to always look at this by continuing that same inner dialogue to reflect accordingly. Again, the gift of speech and mind. He says your thoughts, mental imagery, beliefs and attitudes, and feelings are investments which you deposit into your subconscious mind. Your subconscious gives you compound interest. That is, it magnifies whatever you deposit. Impress upon your subconscious with love, faith, confidence, right action, guidance, abundance, security, good humor, and whenever you need love, confidence, or an answer to a problem, your subconscious will supply it to you. It has always done it, and it always will. And the key to it is to remove the disempowering programming in relation to people, environment, circumstance, and information, our vision, our ability, or anything. And always reflect back on the Robert Dilts model. In relation to identity, in relation to values and beliefs, in relation to capabilities, behaviors, environment, and our vision. As we remove these limiting beliefs, we'll notice a deep, high-fidelity conversation, inner voice conversation that will be brought forth, that we'll find ourselves automatically listening to. And as a result, further we will release from disempowering programming because we're no longer identifying with the mental chatter, as discussed in one of my videos that I released a few weeks ago. I recommend watching it. I'll put a link in the description. And he says, this is the way to dig treasures out of the gold mine within you. So let's pause for a moment. Within you is the acres of diamond. Within you is the infinite power to be rich and any form of riches that you choose. We're speaking about entrepreneurship, but riches can be family riches, relationship riches, riches in intellect and understanding, riches in creation and contribution, riches in creating happiness and joy in the lives of others, riches in helping others achieve success or happiness or fulfillment, riches in any form of that which you want to see brought forth in reality for you, others, divine, evolution, whatever way you want to see it brought forth, whatever riches means to you, this is the way that I found to be the most accurate. It is found within. Now, all the teachers for many thousands of years have said the same thing. And all of us go through the realization journey. More and more so we realize that the answers are within. And that what we are doing is we're interpreting five sensory data. And if it's riches or abundance or whatever it is that we want to create, we want to accurately interpret five sensory data to be in alignment with the vision. So again, he says, there's plenty of everything as well as an abundance of opportunity for the man who will tune in with the infinite and think big. So our first goal is to think big. More accurately put, to really ask ourselves, what does our heart desire? What do we desire? And it doesn't matter if we think it's big or small, it is accurate. That which the heart desires is accurate. As mentioned in the last video and earlier in this video, God speaks to us through the medium of desire. He then states, he will gain a response from the presence and thereby bring all manner of good into expression in his immediate environment. So when we say ask and ye shall receive, when we receive the hunch for the desire within, and we imagine the desire in our imagination, and we affirm it to be done, using imagination, subconscious mind, audio, self-talk, whatever way works for you, vision board, and watch the video that I did on It Is Done, when I discussed Neville Goddard's perspective on it. I'll put a link in the description. The moment we do that, right then and there, usually right away, we will begin to get a response from within. It could show up as a hunch, an inspiration, an idea, or an inner voice conversation. For me, it's always an inner voice conversation. The moment that I know it's done, the inner voice begins to reveal to me everything in relation to affirming the true identity, that which is a reflection of the vision, which is considered the self-image, the ideal values and beliefs, which I can then further affirm by creating affirmations and affirming them, the ideal capabilities. If I need to cultivate certain capabilities, then I will find those inspirations within. My behaviors will change, or hunches and inspirations will be received within as to what behaviors to change, as well as environments. Although I have a morning routine and I have a certain style that I go about my workday and end of day, I do leave my mind open for hunches and inspirations that show up within. At any moment, the inner voice can show up and give me a plan. It could tell me, and it has done it, to book a flight that day, book a flight to a place in which I go there. I follow it. I don't question it. I know it to be true because I have a relationship with the inner voice, and I recommend every one of us build this relationship with our inner voice. And further facilitate this inner voice because it's going to lead you down pathways that may not make sense to anyone else, but it'll make sense to you. And so I book the flight. I go to a certain place and I have a certain experience. I talk to somebody. I meet somebody. And they become any one of these particular areas. If you go and look in my earlier videos, there's a video called 5 Insights from a Podcast. I made a video discussing 5 takeaways from a podcast. It was a conversation between Jeff Moore and Joe Polish. So what did I do? I felt this hunch and inspiration. I put up the video and I tagged Jeff Moore on Facebook. Now, next thing you know, within a couple weeks, I was flying over to California on a consulting deal. Jeff reached out to me, worked a consulting deal. Him and I have been friends since 2013. I left that video on there intentionally. He's probably listening to this discussion right now. I know he watches my videos. Him and I talk every couple weeks on the phone. But this is a very pragmatic example. Now, as a result of working with Jeff Moore, he connected me with the Abraham Group. All of this brought forth one of my previous desires, on top of the miraculousness of that particular experience, which, by the way, led to many consulting deals and riches, you could say. Another desire was brought forth. In 2008, I heard about someone by the name of Jay Abraham. And I said to myself, this guy is a marketing genius. I want to be able to one day have access to this marketing genius. And through the bridge of incidents, that ended up happening. And even these things I'm talking about here, multidimensional relationships and resources, even though I was doing this in my IT business, when I went and studied Jay's information, it took my understanding of this stuff to a whole new level, to the point where I was finding that in my consulting, I was putting deals together left, right, and center to produce results. Now, here's the thing about this. Again, we don't want to lose ourselves to the effects. Those are all effects. Joyous effects, might I add. It's been a very joyous journey, and we're still on this journey. It's a lot of fun. However, we have to remember that I came across this information as a result of working with Think and Grow Rich in 2004. And during that time, he had a couple of chapters in Think and Grow Rich. Number 1 was autosuggestion, which is affirmation. Number 2, he had subconscious mind, which introduced me to the concept of subconscious mind. I had no idea. And then I came across Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy and went into study. And as my mind began to alter, it is with absolute certainty that I recognize that this is how it works. That when we believe that we are drawing from the infinite source and that we never need to worry about taking more than our share because the infinite storehouse is inexhaustible and eternal, the same yesterday, today, and forever. And by the way, in relation to fourth dimensional thinking, past, present, and future is now. All is now. All is one. From that perspective, we begin to understand the outer world, elements, whatever they may be, for whatever your goal may be. And we'll notice that we'll bring forth the riches in a way that is accurate to who we are. And yes, as Steve Jobs said, we can connect the dots looking backwards and share it with others and talk about the effects. Well, we always have to remember one thing. It started with the cause within, and the cause is the belief. And it's the belief that right now, your infinite power to be rich is within you, as stated, built on the idea that the infinite power to be rich or abundance is within you. It is what we would call tapping into the genius within you. As stated, the genius is within you. When you are in tune and in rapport with the wisdom and intelligence of your subconscious, the genius in you will be revealed. The infinite intelligence in your subconscious mind can solve your problems or financial supply and give you the right answers. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.